You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you taking another lap of the extra mile for today, March the 10th, 2022. I'm here with Michael Ward and Christopher Lehman. You'll hear from them in just a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, Formula One second round of testing has begun, and let the sandbagging commence. Who knows how these cars are going to run? And of course, the NASCAR Next Gen car put on another stunner at Las Vegas. This car, I dare say, is going to make a lot of tracks a lot more interesting going to the future, except for Texas Motor Speedway, because nothing can save Texas Motor Speedway. But I'm rambling. Let's get to my co-hosts, Michael Ward, Christopher Lehman. Gentlemen, welcome.
Howdy. How you boys doing today?
I'm good, bad. I'm on my shit list right now.
That's okay, because Alex Bowman's on my always good list.
Well, thank you you two for joining me, and thank all of you for joining us. And if you're in the chat, make sure you drop a message. We'll read it out here on live. Larry B, who was on last week, is with us. I love this freaking show. We love you too, dude. So let's go ahead and get started. I think I might know what that is. Give me a second. I'll probably be able to fix that if it is being choppy. It's probably something to do with my headphones. But we shall continue on for now. While I look into this, you guys talk amongst yourselves. Talk about a little bit about what happened in the race this weekend in Las Vegas. It was another good showing for the next gen car.
Yeah, it was definitely a good race, fun race to watch too.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I think that if you look at the first, I don't want to say Daytona's not a real race, but what I should say is the first, non-taper space or restrictor plate, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
The first two races where we knew that we would see kind of what we got is maybe what I should say.
Yeah.
And those two races have performed. And Jeff Gluck's pole is both races have been in the 90s, which is something to say the least.
Yeah, these are some good racing, like from green to checkered, honestly. Like, and then I also like how there's, I wouldn't say there's a lot. Well, maybe there's a whole lot of strategy, but it just seems like the racing comes down to the track more so the pit road, and then also because these cars are so much harder to drive, you're actually seeing a lot more accidents, little mini mistakes.
Well, I think that's causing a lot of the strategy, because I remember at some point listening to Bubba's radio. I was flipping between Bubba and Kurt's radio all day on Sunday. They actually put a set of qualifying scuffs on Bubba's car before the end of stage one to save tires, because there were so many cautions now. They only got 9 sets of tires for the race. Now, usually that didn't matter, but with all the cautions we've had from guys either spinning out or making contact, which I'll come back to in a little bit, we've had more cautions than they have tire sets. So they had to play some strategery on when they were going to put the new tires on.
So that's when. So that's why Kurt didn't come into pit at the end of stage one, right?
I believe so. I think Kurt. Yeah, I think that was a tire play as well, because there was a lot of tire strategy.
Yeah, they
going
did
on.
Mention that there weren't a lot of tires.
Yeah.
So the teams had to. It makes it interesting, though, definitely. I mean, who's to say, like, we go to a track and it's not hard on tires? Like, you might be able to make, like, an actual, like, serious play.
Well, there's a couple of tracks down the road where I think this is going to come into play. One's going to be Darlington, notorious tire eater. That's going to be one place where this tire situation will rear its ugly head. I think Dover is about to get a heck of a lot harder with this car. So we're going to see a lot of races this year where it comes down to when do you pit and when do you not pit to bank on that caution. Because I think even as we get deeper into the season, the self spins might go away, But I think the contact cautions that have been missing from this sport since the high downforce package, I think those are back in here to stay because these guys can actually get door to door again. And when you get door to door, it makes mistakes.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you, and I think that's like why I think the racing is gonna like ramp up like as the season progresses, especially during playoffs or before playoffs when desperation is gonna set in.
How about Ross Chastain coming home on the podium?
I love what the Trackhouse cars have done this season. I think that's the one team that I think has been the shine. That's been the one example of what NASCAR was talking about getting the smaller teams more involved in the top places. Because unfortunately, Suarez got taken out. He was having a good run, but ended up in an accident out of his own making. But Ross Chastain rebounding from a so-so race last year to come in, or not last year, last week to come in third. That was exciting. And he was leading a good portion of this race. That can't be forgotten. Ross Chastain was leading some laps and held off Kyle Busch.
Right.
So that Chevy platform is fast. And to steal a phrase that I heard at work this week, a rising tide will rise all boats. It has definitely risen the Trackhouse boat.
Yeah, I think Chevy and all the Chevy teams definitely have something good going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Michael. The Fords feel like they should be running better than they are. Like we had Blaney out in front, and then he gets taken out. Can
we talk about Blaney and his bad luck so far?
Oh my goodness! I don't know who has worse luck between them, Blaney or Bubba Wallace.
Because this is the third race in a row where he's been in a winning position with a fast car and just gets taken out.
Yep. And I think, especially with that the infield care center interview, that frustration you could tell because he said something like, "Oh yeah, somebody else wrecked, and here we are packing up," or something along those lines. And you got to figure that's got to be, because I don't think he's got any points, does he? Because he's DNF'd.
Well, he still gets points.
Well, yeah, but he's not getting what I would consider real points.
No. He's getting show-up points. I can actually find out where he is sitting here. I can look up the NASCAR.com standings. We actually look at the point standings now.
And while you're there, Daryl, can you tell me who's leading the playoff point standings? Just, I don't know who that could possibly be.
I've got to find the playoff. I've got to find the bonus points ones. I know Larson is leading the main standings right now. And Larson is leading as far as the playoff rankings. Because, of course, he is. Even though he doesn't have stage wins. Mark Truex Jr., though, actually has the most stage wins with 2, tied with Mr. Tyler Reddick.
How many stage wins does Kyle Larson have?
Not a 1, I think. Nope, he had not a 1.
Alex Bowman has the most playoff points.
Yep.
He just wanted to plug that in, guys.
I did. Know. That was a plug, and Daryl knew it from the beginning, and that's why he stonewalled me.
Well, no, I couldn't actually find those. They don't actually have the playoff points on here. They just have stage wins and all that. I wasn't trying to stonewall you. NASCAR.com legitimately doesn't have the playoff points.
So I don't want to, and I want to apologize in advance, Daryl. But when Kyle Bushed the radio, is what I'm going to say.
That's
right?
What he did.
And he is all sorts of butthurt about having that win stole from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you know where I'm going with this, Daryl, but there have been worse endings of races stolen in the last couple months than Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah. Phoenix.
Phoenix last year? Yep.
Phoenix.
That was hella stolen.
Somewhere in the Middle East.
some Formula One championship thing. Anyway, I don't want to go on a rant about that again, but y'all know how I feel about that whole debacle. Actually, Clint Boyer actually referenced it.
Did he?
During the race on Sunday. One of those races he referenced it. But anyway, on the other side of things, when it comes to, this new car and the new teams doing well, Petty GMS, and they can't really seem to find a good... I love that shirt. Y'all can't see it, but it's the Chase Elliott when 2020 when Chase Elliott flipped off Kyle Busch. It's that shirt that Chris is wearing tonight. It's awesome. But on the other side of the the good side, you have the Petty GMS cars. Ty Dillon, not much to write home about for him. Eric Jones was in a decent position and then pancakes the wall. NASCAR waits like 30 seconds to throw a caution as his destroyed car is pinwheeling along the front stretch, comes up the racetrack right into the path of Bubba Wallace, who has to swerve at the last minute, hits the wall, and a top 15 disappears into 25th.
Thanks, NASCAR.
First, I don't know what was going on with the cautions. Spencer Boyd had a separated shoulder, was stuck on the inside for two laps during the truck race. NASCAR never called the caution. Don't know what was going on with that. But on the other side, if Bubba Wallace didn't have bad luck, he would have no luck at this point. Because I swear, every other week, it happened last year and it's happening again. That team has a good run going, or a momentum building run, and it just gets squandered.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like both 2311 cars can definitely finish well in the points, like well up there. It's just Bubba's kind of just having the bad luck.
Well, both of them ran well and couldn't come home with top 10s on a Sunday. At one point, they were both in the top 10, ended up falling out.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Like I think the midfield is definitely a lot more racier.
And I think it has something to play. I spoke about the rising tides raising all boats. Toyota just doesn't look good, outside of some spurts, Kyle was the highest finishing Toyota, did lead some laps, but he was fourth. But then you had Martin Truex Jr. 8th, Bell 10th. Hamlin broke the transmission on his car 32nd.
He's had 2 DNFs and one finish.
And then Kurt and Bubba, the 2311 cars, we talked about that. It was a resurgence for, I guess, JGR. They got 3 cars in the top 10, but other than Kyle in 4th, they were lower down the top 10 order than you expect to see a JGR car. And then, of course, Kurt and Bubba were fighting a tight condition all race long. And then Hamlin just blanked and tried to shift from 3rd to 4th like an H pattern. Ended up shifting back to 2nd and broke the transmission. Toyota's got a lot to figure out about their car because Chevy's gotten faster. Ford is woken up a little bit, and it's Toyota looking like the odd man out.
Yeah, this is so far just not Toyota's year. Coming from last year, too, we came from them starting off the year really well, especially with the Daytona 500, to we kind of have to play catch-up now.
Yeah, I don't know. But honestly, the finishing positions of JGR this week feel better than I recall them running, if that makes sense. Like And I think one of the reasons why we typically think of Toyotas as being not quite as powerful or finishing as well as Chevy or Ford is because they have half the number of cars. So if one or two cars get wrecked, which happens routinely,
Yep.
then you kind of almost weigh down the average finish. But if two or three Chevys or Fords crash, you don't even know they're gone.
Yeah.
You would never know. And I think that's why we feel like, oh, Toyotas don't run well. Well, Daytona, 3 Toyotas get taken out in the same Brad Keselowski incident.
Yeah,
and
there was
and
2 Toyotas that finished.
And then this week, Bubba is the unfortunate victim of not his own doing, but that takes him out, and it skews the numbers. And it's just because there's only 6 Toyotas on the track, and that's why it feels so low.
That is a manufacturer that needs more cars. I've been saying that for a while.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2311 snag another charter in the next year, like for next season.
Yeah. Well, in the future, if they're going to try to hold out for another black driver, I know Raja Karuth is making his way up, but that's going to be a while. They're going to have to figure out some place for another car, not just Yawuji. I'm sorry.
And if they have the opportunity to buy a charter, they're putting somebody in it. It doesn't matter if it's Michael Jordan himself. Someone's getting in that car because they're buying the charter.
Somebody's going to get in there. It might be for John Hunter Nemechek. Remember, we thought he was going to get the 45. John Hunter still needs somewhere to go in the Cup Series.
And he could still be a favorite for the next seat that opens up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just trying to figure out where they would pluck the next charter from, to be honest.
I think the next big seat to be filled is going to be the 4.
Harvick is getting ready to call it a career. I mean, Piper is now in the cart now, so it's coming.
I think our silly season next year is going to revolve around that 4 car.
Yep.
And I don't want to imagine him leaving because Stuart Haas lately has not been it.
I think that's going to be everybody gone from the 03 500 at that point. No, Kirk's going to be the last one.
Yeah. But I mean, when you look at an organization like Stuart Haas, they're getting younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amarola and Harvick, they're holding out, but Custer and Briscoe, they're young guns. And look how it turned out for Hendrick. We were like, we're not really sure how this is going to play out. They completely bought into the young guys, and it took a year or two to really develop them.
Yeah.
But look how it's paying off. Hendrick Motorsports is returning to the glory days of Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. Dale Jr. wasn't necessarily a big winner, but you're seeing the resurgence of Hendrick Motorsports, and it's all on the backs of 27 and younger.
Yep.
Yeah. So you definitely have a point there. Maybe they are taking the Hendrick route or just letting them develop for right now.
I mean, every team has to refresh at some point. We went through it with Hendrick. It was a painful transition. Getting the super team out of there for these young guys, which are becoming the new super team. And Stuart Haas Racing is going through that right now because Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe have to develop. You're not going to jump into a Cup car and win first year or really be that competitive. First year, it just doesn't happen. I mean, Austin Cindric is on the Kyle Larson, Jeff Gordon first ballot Hall of Famer track right now. So, but then again, it's only like 3 or 4 races in. We got to see what he does the rest of the year.
Yeah. But yeah, I think something that these teams are watching is that Hendrick, when they brought in the young guy, they didn't swap them out after a year of not having the best production. He kept them in the car. He wanted consistency. He let the teams grow and develop. And I think that's the way that Hendrick has handled this transition is going to be the way you see Stuart Haas handle it, and how you see, well, we've hoped that we'd see Joe Gibbs, but they've moved through their people. And
So going back to Joe Gibbs, do you see this happening to Joe Gibbs at some point? Because it's going to happen to them.
it has to.
It's going to.
Now, the luxury that I don't think Joe Gibbs is going to have is they're going to lose 2 in 1 year.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're gonna
Because
lose Hamlin and Bush, I think, at the same time.
I was going to say Hamlin and Truex.
Yeah, me too. I was going to say Hamlin and Truex.
I see Bush holding out the longest of all of them.
Yeah.
See, my thing is, though, with the guys with kids, because Kyle's got kids and Kevin's got kids, it's the same reason that Almirola retires. Those kids don't stay young forever, and the older they get and the more time they start missing, it starts weighing on these older guys.
Yeah.
And with Kevin, which is why I think he's going to be gone after next year, Piper's in a cart now. She's in the cart Keelan was driving. He's not going to want to miss that. And then, Keelan's doing his thing driving. On the other side, Kyle, you've seen what Brexton's been doing and the fun they've been having. I think he's been having more fun watching Brexton win races than drive his own. So I think at some point, he's going to call it a career sooner than the other two and go be race dad.
Oh man, can you imagine them losing all 3 of those guys at the same time? Oh my god.
I couldn't. That would be a nightmare.
I don't want to think about that.
I don't think it will.
As a Joe Gibbs fan, I do not want to think about that.
I don't see it happening. I think while they're close in age, I don't think Bush is old enough to necessarily hang it up yet. Whereas Truex, and I don't have their ages in front of me, but I think Truex is the oldest of the bunch. And
Truex
I can
41.
Yeah, what has he really got left? He doesn't have anything to prove other than the fact that he can win a championship at a well-funded organization. But
Kyle's only 36?
I was going to say, I know Kyle.
Kyle looks kept pretty young to me.
See, I think Kyle's the youngest. I would bet that Denny's 37 or 38.
I think I keep thinking Kyle's. Yeah, Denny's also 41. I keep thinking Kyle's older because he's been here since he was a literal teenager.
Man,
Yeah.
I don't know what Denny Hamlin does. He does not look 40 to me.
No, he doesn't. I would put him in late 30s.
Yeah,
like
so it's
Denny-
probably, so you're right. It's
I don't know
probably
what
going to
guy
be
he is.
Hamlin and Truex going first just because the age thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Kyle Busch is ready to hang it up yet. I doubt if he is. I bet you he's got another 4 years.
Yeah, get
Depending on
40.
Depending on what happened with Brexton. If Brexton if he starts taking off and he needs Dad around, I'm sure Dad's leaving to go mentor.
Well, not to mention there's another baby coming. With what they were doing with Samantha, they finally got the daughter coming, and thank goodness, because that journey for both of them has been a trip. Yeah, and it's been heartbreaking to watch. But we haven't talked a lot about the winner from Sunday's race, and it's kind of apropos because he just kind of snuck up on us. Chris's favorite driver, Alex Bowman, picks up the win in Las Vegas. And Chris, Alex Bowman's kind of figured out, look, every time I dominate one of these races, I get screwed at the end. So I'm just going to show up at the pay window with 10 laps to go and pick up the win that way. That's how he's been doing it in his career so far.
Yeah, with the exception of Chicagoland and Auto Club, which are our wins 1 and 2. The other ones I don't want to say he's lucked into, but he's put himself in the position to take a final stage lead and win the race. And as far as Kyle Busch saying he backs into every win, I wouldn't say that that's the case. And at the same, one way to look at it is Kyle Larson had the same tires he did, and he beat him in a shootout. Yep. So it's not dumb luck. I
wish I could back into 7 wins.
And that's what Dave Moody was like, when do you consider, 7 wins? He's either the luckiest guy on this planet or he's got more skill than you think. And Dave Moody says, I think I know which one it is. Now, the Kyle Larson blowing a tire at Pocono, that's luck,
Yeah, that is.
right. But the other ones, and I mean, you can say that he got lucky that the caution came out, but Bowman's historically a terrible restarter, and you still have to beat in a shootout Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Willie B, who, take it what you will, Ross Chastain, who I think is a very undervalued driver. I don't think people give him enough credit as he deserves. Yeah. I mean, that was, if you look at it, I mean, that was a stacked top 5 to 8, and 3 cars had 2 tires and 2 tires won. And, it was a strategy call that won the race, but Bowman still had to wheel that thing and beat Larson in a shootout.
I mean, he was side by side with Larson the entire time. Like, he had to muscle him for that win. It's not like he just got away and drove off into the sunset. That was a dogfight for 2 laps.
Yeah, and that last corner coming into turn 3 on the last lap, Larson ran him low, and I thought he was going to get squirrely under Larson and hand the win to Chastain, because Larson ran him low.
Go ahead, Michael.
Do you feel like these races are going to come down to like most of the races are going to come down to overtime?
I mean, the way it's going, I mean, we're getting a lot more contact than we used to, so that's causing cautions, which, by the way, through 3 races, I can say this: these composite bodies have held up extremely well, by the way.
Right.
Suarez head on the wall, and that car did not look that badly damaged compared to what we would have seen if it was a steel body. So, composites are doing their thing.
I agree.
And the reason I asked that, because it happened, an overtime race happened twice already.
Yeah.
Technically 3 times you want to count Daytona. If it happens a 4th time, I'm going to start to say, well, here's a trend here.
Wait, was Cali overtime?
Cali was overtime, I think.
I can't remember if that race was overtime or just a late race caution, and it was close to overtime.
But, I'm just starting to notice, like, they're extremely late into a race. There's a caution, and it changes everything.
Yep.
So Mike, I think the saying is 1 time is an event, 2 times is a coincidence, and 3 times is a pattern.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm just like, I think a lot of these races are going to come down to overtime. And honestly, I think the Hendrick cars are good at handling that scenario.
Okay, so Auto Club did not go to overtime, but Daytona and Daytona and Las Vegas did.
Okay, so if it happens again, I'm gonna say there's a pattern here.
I think it's gonna be a pattern that we're gonna see a lot of these races come down to a late race or overtime finish, just because of the cautions and how difficult these cars are to handle.
And just to add on to that, when these guys are racing for position now late in the race, that composite body gives you a little bit of confidence to do a bump and run or touch cars. And late in the race, when you're racing for position, I think you're going to see more late cautions because of that confidence that the composite body brings.
And then also you can play the tire wear, I guess, into that too. Being able to race and then the tire wear.
And they're still trying to learn about these new tires. The 18-inch lower profile, you got a lot more grip. And just trying to make sure that grip stays has been a challenge. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Now, what I am interested to see going on is, do we continue to see these jumbled up top 10s, or is a team going to hit on this? Because right now, I don't think anyone's really hit on anything, and it's creating some exciting racing. And I hope it stays like this, to be honest, because this is a lot of fun where you get to see the Gluck poll, and it's 90% Like the first 3 races of the season, of the points races, all 90%. If we keep it that way, this might be the most positive NASCAR Twitter season we've ever seen.
I agree. And it just kind of makes me think of something that Bowman said that I didn't necessarily like that he said it, but he had made a comment something about how he's enjoying the racing right now because you're getting a mix of cars running up front, and I think he said specifically it was nice seeing the 43 of Richard Petty running out front.
Oof.
But he goes, and it's fun right now, but he goes, even with this car, the big teams like Hendrick and Gibbs are still going to find a way to make this car work for them. And a bit of a cringe, but I think he does have a point that the bigger teams who have bigger budgets are going to find a way to make this car a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little more aerodynamic, however you want. And it all comes down to if you ain't cheating, you ain't racing, right?
Yep.
Right.
And the big teams can figure out how to do it.
They have the cars, they have the money, they have the engineering. They can definitely do it.
They have the people reading, like just like in Formula One.
Yeah.
Each team has their own department of people who read those rules and figure out how to manipulate them. And that's what the big teams like Gibbs and Hendrick, they've got a guy who knows these rules inside and out and can say, let's exploit this one.
Yeah, because for example, like Toyota with Gibbs, like you would think they wouldn't just have just their teams, but they would have the Bush team's data, TRD, their R&D department, Toyota's R&D department. They have all these resources they can pull from to make their car faster.
Well, everybody's got the same SMT data, so they can see who's doing what and try to figure out things from there. So
yeah,
there's a lot of information sharing going on,
kinda
and we just hope that it works out for some teams. 2311.
It's kind of like Mercedes.
Trackhouse.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mercedes. They have so much information they can pull from. Like they have information from the cars. Lewis Hamilton is really good at providing information. So is George Russell. They also have teams not working just in Brackley, but they have teams working in Germany
and at the track.
So it's just like they have so many resources they can just pull from to remain dominant. So does Red Bull.
Yeah, I think that's why the successful teams remain successful.
Yeah.
So usually this would be the time where we would take a break, but the conversation's so good, we're just going to keep right on trucking. So this week for NASCAR, we're going into Phoenix, and this is going to be an interesting race for the main factor of this is where the championship is going to be held. And usually it would be, well, the best guy on the 750 package is going to be the best guy when we get into this race in the fall to decide a champion. There is no 750 package. It's all 670 now. So I think the guys that have been consistent are going to be consistently good here. The problem is we've had about 20 different guys finish in the top 10. So I have no idea which guys are going to be in the top 10, and I sure as heck don't know who the top 10 guys are going to be when we get to this track a second time for the playoffs. But what this race is going to do is give us the first look at what this car looks like at a track that has been notoriously hard to pass at.
Right. And I just hope the racing's going to be good and easier to pass there, because I'm not going to lie to you, when it gets really late in the Phoenix, like I think the most of Phoenix sometimes get is just kind of a drag. Mm-hmm. So I really hope this package and this new car makes the racing more intense, because I kind of hated watching the championship race last year where nothing really happened until the very end. Same with the Busch race too. Not the Busch race, the Xfinity race.
I don't want to interrupt, but I have to show you all this. Stefan Wilson, open wheel racer. The hinge of his laptop apparently broke off. I just sent y'all this tweet to the Zoom. Y'all have got to see the redneck DIY he did to fix this thing.
The redneck DIY.
That you're just gonna have to click on it and look at it. Since this is obviously this is radio and not television, to explain to y'all what Stefan has done here. He's taken what looks like 3 wall screws, drilled them into the computer where the hinge is, and then put fasteners on the back of it to keep it in place.
We call that a bush fix.
I mean, that's one way to fix it. I should have thought of that when the hinge on my laptop broke a while back. That's wild. Okay, so I'm sorry. We got derailed there. Michael, what were you talking about?
I don't even know anymore. But what was I talking about?
We were talking about making the passing better at Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. I hope the car can make the passing better at Phoenix because I'm not going to lie, watching the championship race for both NASCAR and Xfinity, it was kind of a drag because nothing really happened during those races. It's just the top 4 kind of pulling away, racing amongst themselves, quote unquote racing. And just it's not fun to watch until the very end. So I'm just hoping the package makes it a lot more interesting.
It has made tracks that, and I spoke about this at the top, it's made tracks that the racing wasn't that great out at better, because Vegas was one of the worst offenders of poor racing with the high downforce package, and we had a great race on Sunday. I think Kansas is going to look a lot better. I think Dover is going to get reinvigorated. The monster is coming back when we get there later on this year. Pocono's Pocono. It'll be marginally better, I think. I kind of did disparage the good name of Texas Motor Speedway. What good name is left?
We don't talk about Texas.
That's going in our best of. Yeah, we don't talk about Texas, and I don't think it's going to help Texas.
I don't think anything can help Texas.
Making it a short track, making it a Walmart will help Texas. That's what's going to help that track. But I think we're going to see good racing. I know Kyle Larson won here and won the championship last time out. So you could say that drivers are going to use this as a test session for the Championship 4 race. It's a completely different atmosphere doing this track as race 4 than race 36. It's a completely different feel, different psychology, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be the same feel when we come back here in November.
And not even that, Daryl, just the atmosphere, the pressure, and all of that. These cars are going to be developed so much over this season as the teams get information back that the cars aren't even going to be the same. So I think they're going to learn a little bit of something here, maybe a little tire wear or how the grip feels, or there's going to be a little bit of something. But at the end of the day, I think these cars are going to be so different that this race has to be taken with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
And just because somebody is the winner this week does not mean that they are automatically a favorite to win the championship.
And I think that's a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
We don't want predictable.
I think what we should do is run the championship on a figure 8 track.
Oh, jeez.
And if at halfway we haven't wrecked enough cars.
You're seriously waking up and choosing violence.
Okay, Tony Stewart.
No, I'm kidding. But what would be fun though is if they rotated the championship on tracks that we've never been at. First time races.
I still want it at Daytona. I want chaos.
Yeah,
I want
and you
the
guys think
championship at Daytona.
You guys think I chose violence today? My goodness.
Oh no, I'm absolutely choosing violence on that. I will stand on the table that the championship race one time needs to be at Daytona or Talladega.
All right, y'all better be careful because next thing you know, you're going to be saying, hey, how about we put sprinklers on the track and then have a wet race?
Okay, I'm not that crazy, but I definitely want to see a plate track host the championship just because the salt that will be farmed from that race will be immeasurable and hilarious.
And someone's day will be ruined.
Yep. But Phoenix, we will race this weekend with, I think it's just Xfinity and Cup this weekend. We will have an ARCA race as well for whatever that matters as far as ARCA is concerned. But will be fun. Can't wait to get back to more racing this weekend, and hopefully we will have some exciting finishes in as far as the Cup Series. Now, we will shift gears now to Formula One. We just finished up the day one of the second round of testing at Bahrain, and Ferrari is now the way too early favorite to win the championship. They were fastest today.
Please stop.
Day one.
And they
No,
did they did
Gasly
very
was
well
fastest.
in Barcelona
Gasly.
too.
Yeah, Gasly was fast.
Sorry about that. They were faster when I was checking at work, and then Gasly pipped him at the end. So it's AlphaTauri and Pierre Gasly who are going to win the championship this year. No, hard to tell, honestly, with Formula One what's going on in these test sessions because everybody's just on their own little platform. And then in the case of our belligerents from last year, Mercedes and Red Bull, I don't want to say they didn't look good because it's testing and they're doing their own thing, but they weren't at the top of the chart. But if you're going to tell me Max Verstappen is going to be P16 at the end of P1 in Bahrain, you're drinking. You're absolutely drinking. So I think those teams are going to be fine. The question right now, Chris, is just how thick is that notebook they're getting, and how are they dealing with the porpoising issue before we come back here to re-rack it and do it for real?
I don't know, and it comes down to how much are they holding back? Because if you're not out there putting laps down at what you're simulating a race scenario where you're out there putting down the best lap you can, how accurate is your data going to be in the race? I know to a degree, and these teams they're playing chess with each other, and and I think the porpoising is a real issue, and I think part of that could be that the fact that they're all overweight. But it's kind of like how in NASCAR we're trying out we got these new tires. It's the same thing with Formula One. We've got new tires, and
Yep.
And my question that I was actually going to ask you, and you guys were talking, and then I forgot, and now I just remembered. Do you guys think we're going to see similar situation in NASCAR where drivers are just getting a little bit silly learning these tires? Do you think we're going to see some spin outs and some issues in Formula One based on these new tires?
Possible. I mean, Perez did spin at the end of this session to earn day one to end that early, which
it's possible. But these guys don't really just make mistakes like that, though.
I don't think we'll see as many mistakes. I'll go with that.
Yeah, because these guys don't make mistakes like that.
Or what I should, or maybe another way to look at it is because these tires are so much bigger, and and the brakes are better. Do you think we're going to see some more practice crashes than we usually do, with drivers pushing the limit of their car, having a little bit more faith in their brakes and their grip than they should?
Probably. They're going to be testing. They're going to be testing to try to find the limit, and some people are going to step over it, which it's what we want to see, obviously. But I do think we're going to see more mistakes in practice and qualifying as these guys try to figure it out where the line is.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Michael?
I definitely agree, yeah.
So we finished day one, and we look forward to day two. Teams are still going to be on their own little agendas. And the question is, one of the main questions is Mercedes' little side pod deal where they really they have side pods, but they shrank them down considerably. Does that really work to whatever Mercedes is looking for? Because to your point, Chris, these teams are going out there, they're looking at different things when they put these cars out here. Not all of them are really looking at all-out pace. I mean, definitely Mercedes and Red Bull weren't on day number 1. They were looking at testing different features. I know they had the little gates on the side of the car to test aerodynamics with this new side pod thing. So if I knew what they were doing on the box when they were sending the car out for a run, I could answer that question a little bit better. But it just comes down to, what are they looking for? What are they trying to accomplish before next week when we do this for real? And what are they considering a successful test? Now, on the other side, Haas hasn't shown us anything because they couldn't get there because their freight was late. That team worries me. They threw all their eggs into 2022. Their first test did not go well, and then their sponsor got sanctioned.
And then their sponsor's also asking them to pay their money back.
Yep.
To what account?
Yeah. And to that end, if let's say that for some odd, crazy reason that the Mazepins win this and Haas has to pay it back, at that point, does Andretti finally get this team?
This is the perfect time to buy Haas right now.
Because Andretti's got the deepest pockets that is going to approach Haas, right? Nobody's got deeper pockets than Andretti. And no better time. I mean, I get that Haas is really not in a position to negotiate, but at the same point, he is, because he still owns the team, and it's a lot cheaper to buy a team than it is to start one from the ground up.
So, Chris, I'm gonna agree with you. Simply because this is the best time for Gene Haas to sell the team and for Andretti to step in and buy it.
Correct.
And if Gene wants out of this, which if I'm Gene at this point, I'm looking for the exit.
Because
this has been an unmitigated disaster since the Rich Energy debacle.
Yeah, and because it's just like, this is just so set in stone. Like, this is perfect for him, for Andretti to step in. Like, Mazepin's out. Most of the sponsors are out. You have a team that's pretty good. Decent car. Well, let's hope it's decent. 2 decent drivers. This is perfect. This is great.
And that's what I think. Just the driver lineup change is going to benefit this team, their development. And I think what you're going to see is the Haas cars maybe not finishing 19-20 every race, maybe 19, or maybe 2018, 2017, 1916. Let's talk crazy. But I think overall that switching out drivers is for the long-term benefit of the team and short-term.
Like I said, Andretti, if he doesn't take this gift right here, he might have missed.
My whole thing with the Andretti thing is I don't understand why they haven't already announced that team's coming in 2024. Like, I get they're not looking for teams, but there's not going to be a more sure thing coming to Formula One than Andretti.
They won't let him, buy a stake for some reason, like buy a team for whatever reason. They just won't let him join.
Well, I don't know what Toto was going on about, talking about some, I guess, putting down the team effort, and he won't return, apparently, Mario Andretti's calls to try to figure out what he was talking about. So I don't know what's going on there. Like, that was a whole thing that just didn't make much sense.
Whoa, now that you say that, what if he was trying to get Mercedes engines?
That would be interesting, but they
might be with Mercedes power. Hold up,
well, they've already got the deal with Renault. apparently that deal's already been signed. So they just need to be let into the series.
No.
I mean,
we don't know about Renault engines right now.
It's exciting to just talking about switching around and stuff. And
because why else would why he be calling Toto?
Well, he's calling Toto to figure out why are you bad mouthing my son's team effort? That's why he was calling.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either, but it's just like this is going to speculate because I think F1 needs more teams, honestly. Yep. And I know that Aston Martin, apparently they're thinking about making their own engines, which if that does happen, that would be huge.
Well, the regulations changing, that's going to welcome in more engine manufacturers.
That's what we need, honestly.
You've got Volkswagen, Porsche. They're already aligned with Red Bull. Red Bulls are basically going to have Porsche engines in them. I wouldn't be surprised to see other European sports car manufacturers jump in too.
Yeah, because I'm not going to lie, the grid sometimes makes me think this isn't Formula One, this is Formula Mercedes.
Yeah, it's time to get the grid figured out. So, we got some stuff to get to before we say goodnight, because we're right up against it. Unfortunately, we're going to have a little bit truncated for these two. Of course, we want to thank the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team for being a long-term sponsor of iSports Radio here. And make sure to follow them on social media at Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, and Facebook at Southern California Warriors as well. And also make sure you get in with the iSports Radio Patreon. Go over to iSportsRadio.com, find out more information about that at just $5 a month. That gets you a shout out on all 32 of our shows. And higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to the podcast university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. So make sure you check that out as well. And of course, we do have the draft coming up in a few months for the NFL, and we're going to be hosting the third annual mock draft challenge. The rules are extremely simple. It is going to be a difficult competition to win. You have to predict all 32 first-round picks. No trades, modifications, no tricks. The participant who has the best mock draft will receive a shout-out on all of our shows and their choice of an iSports Radio hat or shirt. For more information or to submit your mock, please reach out to Mike Pat at letswine _IESR. Good luck to you guys on that one, because trying to pick the NFL draft is like trying to pick who's going to win a Daytona plate race. Good luck.
Daryl, just when you were there and you said the draft is coming, you just triggered an entire generation.
That draft might be coming as well. The way things are going, but that's
let's not talk about that.
Oh boy! Before this ship sinks any deeper, like Russia's effort in Ukraine, let's go nearest the win right now. Going to Phoenix. Who do I want to pick for this race? It's still hard to pick anybody, just with the challenges of what this car is going to be.
Can I be honest with you, Daryl?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot go wrong with a Hendrick car.
At this point, you can't. I've already used Larson. You know what? I'll go Chase Elliott this week. Who do you guys have?
You want to go Daryl? Or Michael?
Hey, I'm Daryl, everyone. I'm going to go with Larson because he won it last year. He seems to be the man. Hendrick knows what they're doing with this new car. So I'm going to go with Larson and just get some early points on the bag, hopefully.
Okay.
Who did I pick last week? I think I picked Larson.
Yeah, because I think you got a point for that.
Yeah.
I really hope Larson doesn't turn into a Lewis Hamilton.
So does that mean I've got a 4-1 lead on you guys?
According to our official statisticians, 3-3.
Excuse me?
Yeah, we are tied at the moment.
I need to see that. But anyways, anyway, that doesn't even affect my pick because I have the same idea as you guys that Hendrick is going to have a 2-win driver, but I am going the hometown hero to go back to back. Alex Bowman.
Okay. So those are our picks. Of course, if you want to get involved with Nearest to Win, make sure you tweet out your picks by the firing of the engines on Sunday. # Nearest the Win to get in. And for the record, Chris, you picked Blaney last week.
I did, yeah, and I got screwed.
Yep. Michael picked Kurt, and I picked Reddick. We did not have a good day last week when it came to picks.
Who, out of curiosity, which one of our drivers finished best? I mean, I know mine didn't.
I will Google. I was just on the Cup page. Give me a second because I'm on the Cup results. I got to bring the Cup results back up.
Because I have to apologize to Blaney, Reddick, and Kurt Busch because we definitely jinxed you guys.
Yeah. Reddick was 35th. He ended up spinning, so I think Kurt Busch was the highest finisher.
Hey,
I believe it.
I won something.
Yep.
Too bad I don't get points for it.
Well, you get the 1 point for the highest finisher.
Hey,
Even though he was 32nd.
Hey, stop stealing my thunder, Chris. Hey.
Well, no, Kurt was 13th, so.
Oh, okay. It's. I mean, I feel like if it's out of the top 10, it should only be half a point anyway.
Oh my God,
I'm not going
Chris,
that far.
You stop. Let me have something.
You drop a quarter of a point for every 10 positions you go down.
Oh my God.
Okay, this is getting more disorganized. I can't make that joke. It's too dark.
I think
Let's get ready to get on out of here. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at DK Junior 12. Michael's at Michael_Ward25, and Chris is at Fiji Sims. And remember, if you missed any episode of any iSports Radio show, you can hear it wherever podcasts can be heard, including on YouTube, where we've got a big old repository about every show that we've ever done in this network. So go and check out some classic shows while you're at it as well, including Michael, myself, and Larry trying not to fangasm while interviewing Michael Andretti. Or Mario Andretti. Sorry, that was fun.
My heart was never racing that fast. Ever in my life.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Extra Mile. This week, you want to check out some racing. NASCAR is going to be in Phoenix all weekend on the Fox stations. NHRA is racing the Gator Nationals in Florida. Going to be some rain affecting that weekend and some cold temperatures, so try and get grip down there. Going to be a struggle. Check that out on FS1. And go to Peacock for Supercross. They're going to be racing at Ford Field in Detroit as they're getting ready to come down to the home stretch of their season as well. So make sure you check that out. And we will see you guys next week at the next green flag. For Michael and Christopher, I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile. We'll see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.